Dr. Nur Farahia Azmi. We are from Group 3 and we decided to choose Alliance Islamic Bank Berhad and Bank Kerjasama Rakyat Malaysia Berhad. Alliance Islamic Bank Berhad AIS is a subsidiary of Alliance Malaysia Bank Berhad that was established in June 2007. The operation into the banking and financial service into the consumer business, Islamic investment and stockbroking. AIS offer Alliance Irish Home Flexi, which is Islamic deposit linked home financial service that can enable people to own home faster. There are two found in the wealth management, which is Alliance Dana Agib Fund and Alliance Islamic Money Market Fund. AIS also established SocialBiz, the platform of social funding of to encourage community to empower through by entrepreneurship. AIS fully following the compliance in the Islamic Financial Service Act, BNM Sharia Governance Framework and also Sharia Standard and Regulations.
28 September 1954, Bank Rakyat or Bank Kerjasama Rakyat Malaysia was laid out as an Islamic helpful bank under the Cooperative Ordinance 1948, otherwise called the Cooperative Societies Act 1993. Bank Rakyat was originally called as Bank Agong or APEC Bank. However, in 1967, it was renamed as Bank Kerjasama Malaysia Berhad, and in 1973, it was renamed as Bank Rakyat. Bank Rakyat was shaped because of the consolidation of 11 association banks. The bank turned out to be completely Sharia consistent in 1994 and brought expanding benefits many years compared to the conventional frameworks. Bank Rakyat forever be focused on growth their item reach and client of each. Bank Rakyat also offer personal product like financial service, product and facilities that are based on the concept of the Sharia, prohibit any unserious activities. Bank Rakyat offering Islamic banking facilities by prepare their branch as much as 147 branch. The mission of Bank Rakyat is to be Malaysia's #1 progressive Islamic cooperative bank, and their mission is to improve the financial prosperity of our individual, client and country. This goal is to ensure a palatable benefit toward meeting profit installment to each part while changing reasonable benefits rate that aren't burden to each individual.
Important Sharia governance for Islamic bank. The first is Sharia compliance is backbone of Islamic banking and finance. This helps the community in obtaining the right resources and avoiding any Sharia-related confusions. This also helps Islamic bank to show that the bank Sharia is different from conventional banks that have their own privilege. As the backbone, Sharia governance will help Islamic bank to be stable and reliable by providing Sharia-related advice and records that will make it easier for Islamic banks to operate properly. Second is Sharia compliance instills public confidence. Sharia compliance will ensure that all practices and activities are always Sharia compliant. This compliance can ensure that those who contradict Islamic Sharia can be avoided. This careful adherence will increase the confidence of consumers, especially those who are Muslim, to use Islamic banks instead of conventional banks.
The Islamic Financial Services Board (IFSB) is an international standard-setting organization that promotes and enhances the strength and stability of the Islamic financial services industry by issuing global prudential standard and guiding principle for the industry. It is broadly defined to include the banking, capital markets and insurance related issues, as well as organize roundtable, seminars and conferences for regulators and industry stakeholders. The mission of the IFSB is to promote the stability and resilience of the Islamic financial services industry. The IFSB seeks to achieve its mission through production and facilitation of implementation, global and prudential standard and supervision, as well as other initiatives that foster knowledge sharing and collaboration.
Next, I will present about the difference of SGF approach. SGF is an important component in the stability of the Islamic financial system. This is because the SGF has a beneficial influence and increased public confidence in the integrity, administration, and functioning of Islamic financial institutions. Among SGF's responsibility is fostering the long-term growth and financial stability of the IFI. There are several types of control approaches. For example, national regulatory authorities adopt a proactive approach, which is goal in mind. National regulators begin developing a comprehensive Sharia governance structure, board of regulation, and non-regulatory standpoint.
Part, I will talk about the GSIFI. The definition GSIFI is an acronym for Governance Standard for Islamic Financial Institution. Islamic financial institutions are financial institutions that operate in accordance with Sharia principles and rules, performing banking, insurance, takaful, and so on. The goal of GSIFI is to create a high-quality Islamic finance system based on the concept and rule of Sharia law while performing the function of Islamic financial institution. The vision of Sharia compliance rule definition as a part of IFI governance, control and practice. The mission of GSIFI is to become an integral part of IFI strategy, process, technology, and people must all follow to Sharia compliance. The first characteristic is the control environment, creating a governance structure including the relevant or to Islamic financial institution in terms of Sharia compliance. Next is the risk assessment. The last one is the control activity. Sharia compliance is needed, is included into the IFI overall management, control and process.
I will present about this approach, this approach is plans to check whether Islamic Monetary Organization (IFI) in Malaysia are consistent with AAO-IFI Governance Standard Number 9 GSIFI principle. We have picked two banks which are Bank Rakyat and Alliance Malaysian Berhad. The accompanying compact definitions are appropriate given AAO-IFI Governance Standard Number 9 on Sharia compliance function for clearness and understanding of this norm. Outside Sharia review, where a free confirmation commitment to give sensible affirmation that an IFI conforms to the Sharia standard and rules material to its monetary plans, agreements, and exchange during a particular period, given a specific arrangement of Sharia standard and guidelines contained in the measures for Sharia consistency. We can conclude that Alliance Bank Malaysia Berhad prevailed in adhering to the guideline expected from GSIFI to Islamic monetary organizations, while Bank Rakyat has effectively carried out an internal control framework to guarantee the bank's respectability.
So I will present about Sharia governance framework by BNM. Bank Kerjasama Rakyat and Alliance Bank Malaysia have fabricated a robust construction for Sharia administration upheld by robust inward Sharia consistent process across the firm. In light of this idea and by the guideline of BNM Sharia governance framework, this will guarantee that Bank Kerjasama Rakyat and Alliance Bank Malaysia Berhad exercise and strategic approaches and are constantly made by Sharia standard and standards. Under Segment 31 of the Islamic Financial Service Act, an Islamic financial institution may select, operate, appoint a Sharia board of trustees but if the accompanying circumstances are met. The individual is a Muslim. The individual has been evaluated consistently to have met the prerequisites determined in the strategy record on fit and proper criteria. The individual is by the same token Sharia qualified individual or a specialist with abilities, information and experience to support the Sharia advisory group job and obligation. 5.2 in assessing whether an individual Sharia qualified under passage, IFI should consider whether the individual meets the accompanying standard. Number 1, it has a 4-year certification in Sharia, which remembers study for usul fiqh or fiqh muamalat. Number 2, it has robust Sharia information and involvement with the critical business. And the lastly is demonstrate solid capability and information in composed and oral Arabic with excellent order of the IFI favorite language, either Bahasa Malaysia or English. A Sharia panel should be served by a secretariat delegated by an IFI. The secretariat job is to offer practical help for the Sharia advisory group, exciting activity which incorporate coordinating correspondences and scattering data among the Sharia panel. The board and senior administration. Number 2 is directing inside and out exploration and concentrating of Sharia issue. Number 3 is giving everyday exhortation on Sharia matters to applicable gathering inside the IFI, like of the SAC decision and the Sharia board choice or direction. And last, guaranteeing appropriate spread of the Sharia council choice or exhortation inside the EFI.
I would like to explain about the following issues focused on Sharia governance in Islamic banks. The absence of an external Sharia review is an issue in Islamic bank Sharia governance that arises in the majority of regulatory frameworks in the GCC and Southeast Asian countries, and there is no requirement for external Sharia review. The other issues is about the absence of young Sharia scholars in Sharia boards that affect Sharia governance in Islamic banks. So the lack of young Sharia scholars can become a significant matter that will impede the productivity and effectiveness of Sharia boards in the future. There are also several issues that comes from Bank Rakyat. First, the institution of excessive store credit by the Department to Rakyat Management Service Sdn Bhd. Second, the issue of the payout of traditional insurance risk funding provided by banking institution for vehicle financing. And the third is related to the research results of payment withdrawal transaction to consumers who are non-Sharia compliant goods and service for transfer loan scheme products.
Issue of Sharia governance in Islamic bank. In the Islamic bank system, there must be Sharia governance. However, Sharia governance also has issues and challenges in Islamic banks. In governance of Islamic financial system has a unique structure named Sharia board. First issue, the higher Sharia authorities do not act as an effective control as a mechanism to supervise the methods of Sharia rulings and Sharia products in institutions. It can affect the stability of the Islamic financial industry. Second issue is about the nature of the other party to the responsibilities of the supervisor or advisor. On the higher Sharia board, bank management and FIS have the option to accept or reject the advice, which they can blame on the effective role played by the control Sharia authorities as the higher body responsible for conduct Sharia practice at the institutional level. It thus causes the credibility of the highest Sharia management to be underestimated by other Muslims.